Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. We're coming at you live again. Although if you're listening to this after the fact for the podcast form, it's not live. But we're doing another live stream podcast on twitch.tv/bitwafflegames. We're going to try to do this like once a month. So check it out if you want to see us do, I don't know, random stuff while we're also podcasting. I'm Steven, your host, your main host. And with me are my co-hosts, Trevor and Ralph, game designers, and various other capacities of art and operations. Yeah, you know what, first of all, this background music is really creeping me out right now. I've got the Dead Space menu on, and in my headphones it's just here. So today, while we're podcasting, I'm actually going to be playing Dead Space, which I hate horror games, and this is like a really creepy first-person shooter game, and Ralph's making me play it, so...
all right, hold on, because I'm not making you do anything you haven't already considered, because he had bought this game.
Yes.
He already owned it.
I've owned it for years.
On some level, he already was mentally prepared.
So
what we're doing is helping him get past his fear. We're actually being very good friends.
Yeah, sure.
It's honestly more of an action game anyways.
I've owned all three of them from like a Steam sale for like a really long time.
Oh wait, we should all be drinking at the same time.
Yeah, drinks. Anyway, before we get started, if you do watch this on YouTube or anything, this is a more mature podcast.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was thinking about that.
Because the game is mature and it's creepy and there's gore and violence and that stuff. So if you're not into that, maybe just don't listen or watch this episode. But
the worst thing is really the violence. Honestly, if I remember correctly, it doesn't have too much like it's not overly ridiculous with the language or anything like that. It's just it is what it is.
Before we jump into the game, just a couple things. We're changing the name back to Foundry. So Trevor, by the way.
Oh, you didn't tell him. Hey, but if you looked at the rule book, you would have seen that.
Yeah, Trevor.
Wait, what do you mean you didn't tell him? Ralph, you were in on this?
We had a conversation.
So we actually voted you out of the company now. So no, it's majority.
Right, well, see you guys later.
So here's the thing. I was talking to Ralph the other day about some art stuff, and he said his wife asked him about Forge Trials or about the game that we were working on. Like, what's it called? He's like, it's like Forge Trials. She's like, oh. Okay. I don't know. You tell this story. I don't know why I'm telling your story.
Yeah, we were just hanging out, and the game came up, and she asked me about it, and I think what I just ended up saying, like, oh yeah, and the name's Forge Trials. That's the name of the game. She did ask me, and then I said, we did though for a moment have the name Foundry as the working title, and she was like, that's way better. Just like, that just is a better name. So that rolls off the tongue a little better,
I actually agree 100%. I'm just still dumbfounded by the fact that this decision was made behind my back. Actually, but here's the thing. I was driving up to Castle Rock with my cousin-in-law, and he was talking to me about, we were just talking about stuff, and I brought up the board game. He's like, what's it called? And I was like, Forge Trials. And he was like, the what trials? Like, I had to like slow down and be like, the Forge Trials for him to be able to understand. So Foundry, it just is cleaner, I think.
Yeah, when I play tested last week at that game design meetup too, and I was like, oh, this is Forge Trials. It just feels like a mouthful every time I say it, and just like it doesn't flow super well. So let's take a vote. Are we officially changing it to Foundry, guys? This is the official time that we're now bringing it up to
vote.
All right,
nope.
Foundry.
I'm saying no just because, to spite you guys. All right,
2 out of 3. Oh, we win. Okay, cool. It's Foundry.
Democracy wins again.
Yeah.
Well, there was another option though, and I don't think we're settled on this yet. We don't know, but it's possible we could do something like Foundry and then just include a subtitle.
The Forge Trials.
And most people looking at it will just end up saying Foundry anyways. You know, it's
y'all
like
play that Foundry game?
it's like it's like Halo came out and it technically has the subtitle Combat Evolved, but nobody says I'm gonna play Halo Combat Evolved. No, everyone just said Halo. It keeps it simple, but you get to include the subtitle.
So would we call our second game then Foundry, and then the other word? I don't know if we've announced the title of our other game yet.
No, because that one's not in the Foundry world. They're all
I thought
like,
it was.
so
I thought it was a
broader.
similar. Go ahead.
It's like a broader, like they're connected in the same universe.
Yeah.
But it's not like Foundry is specific to like what's like where this game is and how that's going on like in this core game.
Okay.
Like whereas the next game that we're working on.
Yeah, I vote yes. Foundry sounds great.
It's in the same universe, but it's not in the same location and the same like people. So
Well, look, the first thing I did was I turned to Steven and I was like, okay, well, make sure to tell Trevor. So he never
Okay.
did.
Sure.
Hey Ralph,
I'm
next time
sorry,
you do
Trevor.
that, just text me because he won't tell
Yeah,
me.
that's what I should.
It's like
yeah.
it's like a husband
Oh, man.
won't tell his wife stuff after work. It's the exact same thing with Steven and my relationship. All right, you go, honey, how was work? And you go, nothing happened. And then I found out later we changed the title of the game.
Anyway, other progress in the game. I feel like we've got really good momentum right now, guys.
We do. Oh, I have a point on this actually.
Okay, go ahead.
Listen, I've been torturing Steven the past few days because I
yeah.
have this working new concept that I am not revealing yet, despite Steven really wanting me
We're
to.
changing the art style, guys.
Tomorrow night,
Just kidding.
Steven, I'm gonna send it to you no matter where it's at. But
Okay.
I've got a new card layout design ready to go.
Okay.
And I've just got a few things that I'm wrapping up with it, but I think it turned out really nice. Well, we'll see. Maybe I have tunnel vision and I can't tell how bad it is, but I am pretty sure that it's easily the best iteration we've done so far. And so
I'll tell you about
I've been,
this.
I'm
been
sure we'll
working
love
on
it and we'll want you to change it. So.
Exactly.
Maybe. I'm just hoping that the changes are more minor, right?
Not
Because no doubt it'll
structural.
have. Yeah, no doubt it'll have like edits and stuff, but
By the way, we're actually changing up everything on the card, so we're not keeping the same icons anymore or the same like categories and resources. So it's literally just going to be a blank card now. People can just imagine what they want the card to be.
I see.
okay.
For a
First,
second, I thought you were telling the truth and just bringing up like springing another thing on me.
Player agency. Yeah. By the
Hey,
way,
you know
Trevor-
what? From now on, I'll just be a participating viewer and I'll just react to the things that you guys are telling me, and that way, I don't have to worry about if you bring them by me or not.
Did I tell you we changed our company name too to
No, but that's great.
Chomp Pancake Games?
Chomp pancake games.
okay, I didn't have a say in that either.
Yep.
So
Pancake
Now I'm mad.
Chomp Games.
no,
Nibble
honestly,
Games.
honestly, I'm art director, right? That's my technical term.
It is,
and I
yes.
feel like I haven't earned that at all because I haven't done anything. I mean, I've done stuff, but no one's seen it. Nothing's been like really moved forward. But with this, that's what I'm trying to do with this card is to finally feel like, okay, I've put in work and moved us forward in
Yeah.
some way.
And like, to be fair, you came in the middle of a project where we were kind of like, we're doing this thing already. So
It took us a moment to align, I think, on
Yeah.
what the vision really was and where we wanted to go with it. But each time, honestly, we get a little closer, I think.
yeah,
So.
for sure. Yeah, so Ralph's working on the card frame. Another thing, I've been cranking through rulebook stuff, even put it in like InDesign, and I'm starting to work on like the actual layout of what everything's going to be. So getting some good layouts, getting content in there, which is good because as I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, like there's some things we need to make sure people understand, and like I don't have a spot in the rulebook for this, and so like it's making me think of other things for that too. So anyway, as we continue, Let's play Dead Space.
Let's do it.
All right, so
I've never seen it. I don't even know what this is. So
It's supposed to be creepy and terrifying, which is what Ralph's all about.
It's like
Am I playing?
action.
Did we decide hard? Am I playing on hard?
I would say hard is. Yeah, you can handle hard.
Okay, guys.
There's in Dead Space 2.
Yeah.
There's a difficulty called hardcore, and it's the hardest difficulty.
Okay.
And you only get 3 saves the entire game, and it's like
That sounds
it's not a super short game either. I've done it. It's very it's like white knuckled kind of gameplay because you're like you could lose hours of work. You have to plan your saves and do all this stuff. So this is not that. I think you'll be okay on hard difficulty. It should be okay.
Nothing's happening. It's just black.
Yeah,
It's just like Dead Space died on me. And I
is that
can't.
what the game is? It just creates dead space for you to...
Yeah. So I got stung by a bee today.
No, you didn't.
I forgot what that felt like.
It hurts.
It does. Yeah.
You lucky.
Where'd you get stung?
On my Achilles tendon.
Oh, jeez. What?
Yeah, it was.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know. I was just out in my yard, and it's been really hot, and I was just walking through the yard, and I felt something, but it took me a moment to realize that it was pain. I was like, "Oh no!" I just wasn't. It just kind of took me by surprise,
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that sucks.
Last time I got stung was in Tennessee, and I got stung on the top of my head, and that was not a fun place to get stung either.
Yeah.
Dude, why is this the dumbest? I don't understand. Just like
I don't know, man.
my mouse isn't working.
All right, well, while we wait, Ralph is going to tell us all the story of his first Christmas.
I was probably crawling around being a giant nuisance.
That he remembers.
Oh, my first Christmas that I remember. I'll tell you about my favorite Christmas of all time.
Yeah,
for
let's hear that
sure.
one.
I don't know how old I was, but I was pretty young, I guess. And
I did it.
You got it?
Yeah.
I actually want to hear the story now, though, so you got to wait a second.
Okay, sorry. I'll go back to
It's
the
not
phone.
much of a story. It was the Christmas that see, I was a PlayStation kid growing up. Most of my friends had like
Time
Sega or
splitters.
Nintendo or whatever else, but I always had PlayStation. So I had a PlayStation 1. That was my first console, and I loved to play like Spyro and Crash and all these other games.
Dude,
and
I remember coming
had a
over and
great
playing
time.
Spyro.
Yeah.
And Time Splitters too.
Oh, Time Splitters too. Well, on
You should tell
what
that story
console?
too.
Oh no, that would be a good story actually. That was a very scarring experience. But my favorite Christmas ever was I remember it specifically just being awesome because it actually snowed and it was just super cozy. We were at my grandparents' house and it was great. We had good food. We always did, and I got a PlayStation 2, which is one of the best. Some people consider it to be one of the best consoles ever released with the best library ever.
We're live.
Oh,
The
yeah.
game's going, guys, by the way.
PlayStation 2 is the GOAT, man.
It was. I got that and Kingdom Hearts, and weird game, but I loved it, and I still do.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was probably my favorite Christmas.
How old were you?
I don't. It was. I want to say gosh, I don't know, 10 or 11, something like that. I'm really not sure.
And I just had this realization. Oh no. Oh man. Oh jeez.
Yeah.
I had this realization that I lose my train of thought all the time. That's the realization I had. That we hadn't worked on like the solo mode or really thought through. Oh, that thing is. It's gross. Is it killing everyone? Did we just murder everyone?
Dude, why are you not running right now?
I don't have anywhere to go. I'm locked out. Oh jeez.
You will run soon, I think.
Yep, I am.
Okay, run. Yes.
I hate this thing already. Oh my gosh, dude. What? Go!
Isaac's so freaking just moseying along.
Get out of the way! I can't get in!
Yep.
Oh my
Hammer.
gosh, go.
Oh, I'm getting Oh, finally.
Guys!
Dude, he's sucking his guts right now.
Oh my god, what the devil? Punch him! Use your fists! You have fists, don't you?
It's coming for you. Yeah.
For a guy that plays Halo a lot, I mean, I don't feel like you stomp doors in Halo. So why are you stomping doors here?
So there's different controls, Trevor, and
You can open
a little bit clunky on PC. Yeah, you're right. I don't think we're gonna get into talking about any game stuff while we're doing this.
It's not. If we were on a chill game, maybe. But this one, there's always something going on, you know.
Yeah, if it was like golf with friends.
Yeah.
Why are you not reloading?
Dude, it's like Snail Man.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Steven, that's a bad guy. Run.
Oh.
I died, guys.
Oh. No, you're gonna stomp the explosive.
Oh my gosh. Of course.
I got one! Oh no, another gonna get me. Oh no, he's circling around. I'll take you with me.
I'm creative.
Oh, I'm still alive? How am I still alive?
I don't know. I don't know how you're alive at all. And then go through that door. Don't.
No!
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Oh, so close!
Oh,
no. Guys, how did I almost make it through that?
Dang.
Oh man. Okay, guys. So. Never mind.
Popcorn next time we do this.
I know. It really is pretty entertaining. Like this game keeps you on your toes.
All right, well I've got to peace out. I'm sorry guys, but I gotta get ready for some meetings I've got in the morning, and then I've got to get to bed.
I think I'm gonna be done with Dead Space, but I enjoyed it.
It really is a good game. I promise.
It's pretty cool. I mean, there's like jumps and stuff, but like the gameplay's pretty good once I get into it a little bit more.
It's really not scary. It's basically like a zombie game, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah.
So if you can handle zombie stuff, basically you can handle Dead Space.
Yeah. I think I can, especially the first one where it's not so visually realistic.
No, right. I mean, I think the graphics are
actually, it is pretty good. It holds
the
up pretty
lighting. Yeah, I think so. It plays well. I think the lighting technology they used for the game makes the game actually look pretty good and atmospheric.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously I love the game. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
fun.
Yeah, thanks for humoring me. Yeah.
It was good. I got a good experience of what it's like, so that was fun. Well, okay. I'll talk about this with Trevor too, but I want to get your thoughts on the like solo and co-op mode for our game. So like the main game right now we've been working on has been the competitive side of it. You know, you're fighting against each other, last one standing, and, wins essentially. You're crafting the blueprints, you're playing those blueprints against each other, upgrading your forge and all that. Yeah. And so the main gameplay, you're fighting each other, and then last one standing, wins. But we've wanted the entire time to have a good solo and co-op mode, where you're called like the Master Trials, where you're fighting against the Master Artificers in the place. It's all been just conceptual, so I don't know how it's actually going to function yet. But a couple of the ideas that I had were, I guess, two main ideas. What I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be like, hey, this guy, the master, the boss you're fighting, has his own forge that he is crafting blueprints and upgrading and getting, getting XP and upgrading like that, because it's just too much management. Like if you treated it just like another player that you're then controlling, like that's not very fun. So one aspect of the bosses was I wanted them to all have unique decks of blueprints, cards, things like that. So I wanted it all to be unique on like what abilities they have, and then we could do different themed bosses or like masters that like, hey, like this master creates pulse items, and so he's like electric type stuff that he does, and it's his like build is focused around that. And here's one that maybe introduces some new theme like and an expansion to it, like more like organic type things, like we add like a whole new category, not category, but a new type of weapon and item that's all like organic combined with like it's like tree wood type stuff, but like some kind of extra special hardened thing. I don't know. So in general, like they'll have their own unique function, but like I don't know how that's all gonna work. So the couple options on like how it actually plays out is they have their health like you have on your board, and you're just constantly winnowing them away. And as their health decreases at certain points, like if you hit like say you take out a third of their health, something will change in how they play, whether that's like they're now getting more aggressive or they can play more cards, or it could be like turn based, and so like after so many turns they level up and now have this extended ability of what they can do. The hard thing is a lot of the blueprints we have like AoE damage, like area of effect. So like you play an explosive and it hits everyone for some damage. That doesn't feel good against a boss when it's just one boss you're fighting. So it's like, oh, here's this AoE damage that hits everyone, but really only hits one person. So one thought with that is either like maybe the main thing, like we have all the bosses always play like minions, so like they have like a bunch of companions out, and like that's how they fight or something. And then that way when you target everyone, it targets all of their minions and their own HP. Another thought was, which is kind of cool, is what if like all of the master artificers have created their own like mech suit in some capacity, or like some kind of like they have this big mech robot deal, and like on that it has like 3 to 5 different sections that you can target on their suit to disable them. And so you're like, when it does multiple targets that you can hit, or it's like hits everyone, it would hit every section of that, and like each of those individual targets has like 5 health. But then whenever you cripple one section, it like either takes away something from the boss or like gives you a better chance of hitting something. But that way it deals with the target aspect of that and feels good when you're all targeting multiple things. But then it's figuring out how does that affect gameplay? Like if you destroy a section on something, does that change what's going on in the game? Does it what does it do? So those are some thoughts. What are your follow-up thoughts to those things?
That's a lot. So in a typical solo game or co-op game, how many bosses would you fight?
Would be like one. So like you'd like either pick one or draw a random one.
Okay.
And so it's like, all right,
So
this is the
campaign
boss.
is essentially just against like this big threat.
Yeah, so it's not a campaign. It's literally just like so our game right now, it's one session. You sit down, you all have your boards. You craft items, you level up, and you fight each other until you're the last one standing. Essentially, it's the same thing for this. You're fighting against the boss, but either it's just you or you're all working together. And so to defeat the boss. And so either you all die or you defeat the boss and win.
For me, I think I like the idea between the two ideas. because of the. I don't know if we want. Me personally, I like the idea of minions better because if you make it about a mech, then it becomes a mech. Just feels like a mech game at that point.
But we could
And
include that in the lore somehow of like like what if like when you get to master artificer level in this world, you then are like so talented you can create your own set of armor, and so like each one would have its own unique abilities. And
I
maybe
like the idea of armor. Armor is cool. Um, because that ties in with like forges and stuff.
yeah.
Whereas mech just feels more to me like a different kind of game. Um,
Well, like I mean it kind of fits in with the so maybe they create like some like I'm imagining the mech suit as like it's like a suit. Like it's like a suit of armor that they're wearing. So like this master has their own mech suit or mech armor that they've created. There's literally a blueprint called mech armor, by the way, in the main game. But if we change that up and had each of the or didn't change it up, but just like because there's like a whole like category of items that are like mech items, like the mech gauntlet, the mech wrench, and type stuff like that, which is more like mechanical type
yeah,
deal. And we could
yeah,
call it whatever, but essentially the concept would be this master has their own crafted armor that they've made that gives them different like boosts or abilities. And so then the thought would be that like on their board, on those different maybe each section has like 5 like sections for health. Like and so you like track down their health in each of those 5 sections. And when you like
mm,
cripple one target, one section of that, maybe that like you get some boost to something when you cripple
yeah,
that section, and then you're trying to completely defeat it. Um, and then you have to scale that based on like how many players, and like if you're doing solo, we can have some difficulty scaling for like how much health each section has or something. Um,
yeah. Well, I guess you could design armor any kind of way,
mhm.
but another reason why I see a possibility for minions versus the armor is because some you would almost again you can design armor any kind of way, but it would feel like okay, if we do a creature style design for one of the bosses, we'll have to think of a way to make the same amount of armor components or
Well,
something, because like basically I'm envisioning humanoid style armor sets.
yeah.
And then,
Well, because
but maybe we
every
want to have
boss.
some bosses be something else, unless there's a lore
Well, the
thing
idea
behind
is
it.
that
Like,
you're then it's like another trial. So you have the Forge trials where you're competing against each other, and then this is like the Master trials where you're then trying to like become a master yourself, maybe, and you have to do that by defeating a master artificer.
okay, so they are all going to
They're
be
all
basically
humanoid
humanoids.
artificer
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Okay. Well, let me think.
yeah. The thing with like all minion, like so, for example, like the main gameplay. Sometimes you're playing shield. Sometimes you're playing like a sword. Sometimes you're playing this thing that you steal scrap from an enemy. Um, which we'll have to figure out. Like there'll have to be some kind of scrap that the boss can utilize as well. So if we did the bosses only having like their own minions out, and that's what you're attacking, then it's like I that's the thing. I didn't want every boss to just have minions, but also I don't want to have a bunch of like management where like you have to the boss has to have the right resources in order to craft this stuff, and like it just feels it has to be really dumbed down because you don't want someone to have to just manage the boss character the entire time.
Right. I know. Yeah, that
So maybe like, and that's why I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if there was one that like crafted a bunch of companions.
this is all just because of splash damage as an effect.
Well, it's like splash damage is an effect. Blueprints that can allow you to hit multiple targets.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
And then there's other things too of like certain items will remove charges, certain items do like uh steal scrap. And so like all those things need to be implemented somehow to the boss. Like he needs to have, so maybe he does get scrap every time, and then it's just like you draw a card, and if he has the scrap to play it, then he can craft it or something. Or I don't know. That's the thing. It's like we have so many different variables in the main game, like with the
Yeah.
emergent gameplay we talked about. But now with that
Is there a
then
way you could just do a approximation of the main game multiplayer style, but just make it solo? So, for instance, you have a boss, but you're basically playing against a group instead of just one boss. You're playing against like a group, like a gang
right
of like the boss ahead, but then he's got his people, and
his
so you're
minions.
just taking on, yeah, but not really minions, just like lesser, just like not the boss,
Yeah,
but but I don't know. I guess that just is minions basically.
right. And like
Um,
yeah, so one of the main things is the multi-target stuff. Like I want that to still feel good and effective. The scrap stuff, maybe like the entire pool of scrap is just by him, and so when you do a scrap steal, you just draw that scrap from the bank or something, and like he just has, because if he's not actually using scrap for anything in particular, I
and you
still want
can't
people.
steal it.
You can't steal it, and I don't want to have to use scrap for him. I want his things to be like something happens, like maybe you roll a die to see which action he takes, or like you draw a card from a deck and that's what's played, and like he just has infinite resources in a sense, because I don't want to have to do resource
Right.
management for a boss. Um,
Well, that's usually how it goes, right? When you're playing games, the boss does have infinite resources, and you just
right.
have to outplay them. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just making it make sense. So,
Yeah. So that's why I kind of almost lean towards like the different armor sections, like creating a unique
well,
set of
I
armor.
don't dislike that. I think that weakening the armor first, and then go for the kill. Uh,
Yeah. So
I
maybe
I think
like
that could work.
yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
Do you feel like that's too different from the rest of the game though? Like
It is different from the multiplayer, like the.
yeah. Like I don't want it to
But is
just be
that a
like
bad thing?
here's a second game in one box. Like
No, it's only a different. It's
mechanic.
just a different. No, not really, because you're still doing the same thing.
That's true. That's true.
It's just applied to something different. It's a
Hmm.
different framework.
That's true.
Uh,
You
there's
almost
many games that are kind of like that, where the solo versus multiplayer is very distinct.
that's
The
true.
multiplayer could be a game on its own
Well, even like
versus
you think of like Halo, like multiplayer, you're fighting against other Spartans,
yeah,
and then in the main game, there's all
nothing
kinds of different alien races and things that you're fighting, and like
yeah.
they all
There's
function
super
differently. But as you
yeah.
play, you're doing the same actions.
Halo multiplayer is essentially just an arena shooter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the campaign is more of a, there's plenty of strategy, there's a great story to go along with it, there's vehicles
Yeah.
um and you're like exploring and stuff too. And there's none of that really in the multiplayer. So, um I think it feeling kind of like a unique thing could be a benefit. And so the armor targeting, you could even get to strategic with that. Like, okay, if I target this bit of armor on the boss, it removes their ability to do this.
Right.
But also it's hard to do that, and while I'm doing that, this bit of armor could screw me in a different way.
Right.
Um,
And if you're playing co-op, like you could all attack the same thing in one turn to try to cripple that piece. And
right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. I think that's interesting.
It could be, yeah, I think that could be nice.
It'd be another. The thing is with this solo thing, it's a lot more components then, because
It's gonna be, yeah. Totally forgot that we were trying to do a.
Yeah, we haven't
solo.
talked about it in a while.
I do think it would be wise to maybe like, as we're developing the solo thing, have it also apply to the co-op thing, so we don't have to do a whole third component, like, so that there's not.
So the solo co-op is the same thing, same game.
Okay.
And so it's just like you can fight the boss on your own, or you can fight the boss with people.
And it should scale somewhat in difficulty as you add.
So we can have
people.
recommended, be like, hey, like 1 to 2 players, this much health per armor section or something.
Yeah.
And then so it'd be like the board for the boss with like the different things to track his armor. And then the other main things you'd have would be we'd add more cards, which would be the boss's like blueprints that he can craft, and they'd be unique to that boss. But do we still fit them in the same tiers of like basic, advanced, and mastercraft, and like have him be like, I don't think we do. I think we just have like, okay, here's an idea. He has his unique set of blueprint cards. There's just one deck of 10, 15 cards, and it's just shuffled up on his turn. Like he can play a blueprint, if like that's a thing he can do. I don't know. We'll have to figure out like how many he can play and what all that's gonna look like. But then maybe on the cards, they're like action cards, and they're not as much like here's an illustration of a weapon and here's the stats like we have currently. But it's just like, hey, like if he's at tier 1, this is what this card does. Tier 2 it does this, tier 3 it does this. Or like basic, advanced, mastercraft. So like maybe as time progresses, the boss still hits tiers to level up after so many turns or something. Or like maybe he tracks with when the players level up. Like he also then levels up or something.
Or you could do a mechanic like
a race against time.
Or a panic mechanic. Like as you chip away his armor, he enters different states of like frenzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be.
So then it's like you could eliminate a piece of armor and that gets rid of some ability or something that he has. Or like maybe you defeat a piece of armor and it does like a chunk of core damage to him or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then it increases his panic or whatever. And so like he gets stronger then. So it's like, do we want to defeat this, like kill this piece of armor to remove this ability? Or do we want to just weaken everything and he has all his abilities?
Yeah, exactly.
But he's not going to increase in tiers or something. Dude, that's great.
And then start just knocking out the pieces quickly.
Close. Yeah. That's a great idea. Because then that keeps the same kind of idea with the game of like you're being strategic about how you're doing stuff and like okay, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I feel like we have to design a whole nother game now. Like not entirely.
Well, it is in a way. Well, you take the same principles and some of the same balancing. I think you could still apply, but it is a somewhat unique thing.
We're gonna have to give him a lot of health. Like if there's like 5 sections of armor, they're gonna have to have at least like, I don't know, like 10 health on each or something. Or maybe it's relative to how many players there are.
Yeah. Well, different bosses you could treat differently. Some bosses could have more sections of armor, but they're all relatively weaker.
Interesting.
Some bosses could have less, but they are stronger. So so you could
Interesting.
I'm gonna say though right now, dude, I'm still gonna wait till tomorrow. But I'm pretty happy with what I've put together. I really think it shows some serious promise.
That's
like
awesome.
I'm finally kind of into it, like a good amount. I believe it's pretty strong.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean we're probably gonna change stuff about it, but
sure.
I feel like it's good enough that we don't have to just start over again.
That's good.
So
cool.
Um, yeah, I'm pretty pumped. So I don't know if you want to meet briefly or could just have a quick call tomorrow night or something.
Yeah.
But at any rate, tomorrow night I'll show you.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of A Bit of Board Games.
I forgot we were still rolling.
It's okay. I knew we were still rolling. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to keep up to date with what we're doing, keep listening to this podcast. And join our Discord and chat with us there. Feel free to ask questions that you want us to answer on the podcast or anything like that. Which you can find a link to our Discord at bitwafflegames.com. Yeah, if you want to watch me getting scared and freaking out on Dead Space, go find the video on YouTube, and we'll do another live stream next month, and have to figure out. Yeah, we'll have to figure out what that format's gonna look like, because
I know nothing has really seemed like it worked.
This one didn't work great. I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like, I don't know if it's relevant to podcast stuff. So anyway, thanks again for being here. See you guys next time.
Yep, see you.